We are very insecure as individuals, myself included. We really today are influenced by other people's opinion to a degree which is not even funny. Think about it. You go to a restaurant, you order some food, people around you ordering food, you wait to the last as the last person, you most likely will change your opinion about what you're ordering. Just that little second, that little situation is an example about how we influence each other. In 2010, a study was conducted, which actually happened to be a movie at the same time. It was a fake family moving in somewhere in California to this beautiful home. Fake meaning they're all actors, the home didn't exist, and the only purpose of this family was to promote as many brands as they possibly could to all the friends and families. It was a Hollywood movie, did fairly okay, and that was actually my inspiration to saying, well, why don't we do it for real? So we raised last year $3 million and actually conducted exactly the same movie, this time for real. We had a casting session going on across the United States. Found the Morganson, which were this ideal family, good-looking mom and dad, and perfect-looking kids, looking like mini Justin Biebers. And really what happened was that they moved into this perfect house. We armed the whole house with 35 hidden cameras. We had a crew of 15 overseeing the whole experiment taking place over 1 year. And really what we wanted to find out is how fast does word of mouth spread? And really how powerful is it? How much are you and I influenced by other people's opinions without being aware of it? I was totally shocked by the influence this phenomenon have. Just to put this into perspective, there was 129 people visiting this home over a period of 3 months. The following 3 months, there was in total more than 15,000 people which have heard about those 10 brands. And out of those 15,000, 12,122 people purchased one of those 10 brands. So it gives you an idea about how influential this is. And not only that, some of the brands actually saw a sales increase of more than 1,000%. In fact, what we learned was that during the dinner conversation, we actually talk about brands in 51% of the cases. And during the day, close to 30%. And yes, this is the United States, and I'm sure it will be different here in the UK. But the reality is it's not that different. In fact, brands have taken a huge role in our lives. Word of mouth, really for me, has been some hooly balloony stuff, which everyone has talked about. But what I was surprised about was two things. First of all, how we are very insecure as individuals, myself included. We really today are influenced by other people's opinion to a degree which is not even funny. Think about it. You go to a restaurant, you order some food, people around you ordering food, you wait to the last as the last person, you most likely will change your opinion about what you're ordering. Just that little second, that little situation is an example about how we influence each other. The second thing I was shocked about was that none of us are aware of it. So we believe that the opinion were ours, that we made our decisions ourselves. And if I interview you later on, you will claim that. But if we then start to analyze the path until that moment when you made up your mind, you'll realize it wasn't yours. And that's really the case in at least 85% of the decisions you make every day. I tried it the first time in Australia, at least I'm aware of, where I was filling up my car with petrol. And this Australian man comes up to me and he says, "Hey mate, I love your car." They use the word mate a lot. And I said, "Thanks a lot. I have the same car as you," he said. "Okay, wow. And I'm actually using Octane 98 or whatever." He said, "You should use the same." I said, "Okay, that's interesting." Anyway, I returned back to Australia after a couple of weeks, refilling my car again at another station. And I hear that voice again, "Hey mate, love your car." And I turn around, ready to say, "Hey, that's me." But he's talking to someone else. "Mate, I have the same car as yours." And unless he has every car in Australia, I realized I've been set up. And actually, I changed my mind based on him. And that was the first moment where I realized, hey, even though I was working in advertising for so many years, is brandwashed, has been brandwashed. And that's really the reason why I decided to write a book about that topic. I'm one of the evil ones. I'm developing brands. I advise Fortune 100 brands around the world, but I also do feel we're getting too far now. There needs to be an ethical line put in the sand, and that's the one I'm fighting for. And instead of writing a boring book about ethics, which I'm sure no one would read except a couple of professors, then I think instead I'd rather have a book developed which is showing all the scary cases of what really goes on behind the scene, and then start a debate which both makes companies shape up the house and makes consumers push back to the companies. the black and white line, which we've been so good in our society to define, really is blurring out. Why? Because you go to work and you're looking at your private emails at work. You go home, you do your work. In fact, we're merging those two different worlds. And the same is the case with the future of brands. Consumers are building brands. Consumers are tearing down brands. So companies use consumers to build brands with the social network and whatever is happening. And therefore, I do not think it's two different camps anymore. I actually think they're merging together very slowly. And my role is really to become, you could say, the fan of the consumer. A person which respects the consumer, because guess what? I'm a consumer too. And I hate to be manipulated with. I don't like the situation. I tried myself when people are manipulating me. So why don't we say to the world I belong to, hey guys, it's not enough that the companies are making up, ethical guidelines. You, as an individual, needs to make up your mind, because in the end of the day, it comes down to you, because you're tweeting about it, you're Facebooking about it, you're communicating to the world, so you make up your own mind. And that's really what I'm fighting for. If you ask an independent body to set up a rule set, it may work, but it certainly may not work as well, because case in point, Sweden, probably the most regulated country in the world when it comes to advertising. You're not allowed to advertise to kids under 15 whatsoever. Now, it's also the country in the world I have discovered which is reflecting the strongest relationship with brands. In fact, there's a direct correlation between lack of self-esteem and brand obsession in Sweden, and that is much stronger than any other country I've seen in the world. So despite regulations, it actually had the opposite effect. So I do think regulation can help us, like what we've seen in Germany, where you have privacy issues solved because of the Second World War. But I also do think that we need to ask the individual to make up their own mind, and rather than just washing their hands and asking governments to handle that issue.